right. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay. Welcome to, we're going to be talking about Superman and Lois, episode 1. Uh, it was awesome. I mean, that's the first thing I have to say about it. It was really cool. So, the picture was, is Superman and Lois, especially episode 1, worth the hype? And so I'm going to answer that question right now and say yes, it is most definitely worth the hype. Most definitely worth the hype. That's how you do a Superman premiere. A, that's how you tell a Superman story, and B, that's how you do a Superman premiere. It was good. It was good. We have some stuff to unpack here. So first of all, let me welcome you. So this is the Redeeming Bad Movies channel, but I watched that episode last night and I absolutely loved it, and it was just awesome. It was awesome. So I had to talk about it. Had to. So yeah. So if you're here live, welcome. I love it. I think I welcome you here. It's awesome to have you here. First of all, let me welcome you. I will say this: if you're watching later, welcome to you too, and I hope you leave something down in the comments if you have a question. We can answer it next time. It was just awesome. It was awesome. But so yeah, this episode 1.71 million viewers for this episode, which is huge for the CW. I mean, huge. Awesome to have you. It was just awesome. I will say this: if you're watching later, welcome to you too. And I hope you leave something down in the comments if you have a question. We can answer it next time. It was just awesome. It was awesome. But, so, yeah, this episode... Okay. Feedback. Gotcha. How about now? Is there an echo now? People have texted me that there's an echo. So, there we go. All right. So, hopefully we took care of that echo. I think that there's only one thing in there now. Should only be one piece of audio. That's what, hey, it's live, right? Things happen when we're live. So, yeah. Let's do this. Uh-oh. No as in there's not feedback anymore, or no as in it didn't work? Okay, perfect. All right, cool. Okay, so let's start off with this. Okay, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. As you can imagine, this is my first YouTube live stream, so I apologize. It will get better, I promise you. I mean, it's got to, right? Statistically, it has to get better. Back to the episode. 1.71 million viewers, huge for a CW show. Huge for a CW show. This is an hour and a half premiere, which was big. I know they talked a little bit about it had kind of a theatrical feel to it. It definitely had a theatrical feel to it. It was really, really cool. I was expecting a lot coming from this because I'm a huge Superman fan, so I was expecting a lot. But I feel like I got a lot out of it. I think the acting was really well done. Especially, I hate caveating this because, actors, they act, right? That's what they do. That's their profession. But, when you're dealing with a smaller network, you kind of wonder if the acting is really going to be that good when it comes in. But, man, this acting blew me away. Okay, so already they're starting off on the right foot. Here we have a CW show, which is a smaller show. Again, you get 1.7 million viewers, and it's considered huge on your network. Even though I think the reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger actually got like 2.58 million. So, of course, it's a lot more fans of Walker, I guess. And that was the second episode, too. But, so Superman and Lois is coming on Tuesday nights. This one started at 8 p.m. I think it's going to be 8 p.m. again because Flash starts next Tuesday also. So, we'll have a little bit of synergy with Superman and Flash coming in. But, I think that going back to the story, right? The story I think was perfect for Superman because there's only so many villains you can really give to him. As in this episode, as I mentioned before, heavy spoilers are going to be in this episode. So And the first one, if you don't want spoilers, then you need to stop right now, okay? Because I'm about to drop a major one. Okay, here we go. This is the warning. Okay. The guy in the suit. When he first appears, when they're first talking about him, because Superman's talking to General Lane, so when they're first talking, my first thought is maybe it's Doomsday, right? Maybe they're redoing Doomsday a little bit because we're familiar with Doomsday from Batman versus Superman, right? But then there was the part where he started talking, and I was like, okay, this can't be Doomsday. They're not going to change him that much. The obvious choice was General Zod, so I said it can't be him. They're not going to lead us to the obvious, right? Another point about the obvious choice a little bit later. So they're not going to lead us to the obvious choice. So then I thought, I mean, it's got to be Lex Luthor, right? I mean, it's got to be Lex Luthor. Spoiler alert, again, it was Lex Luthor. But we knew it had to be Lex Luthor, right? I mean, who else could it be? They're not going to introduce somebody new in the premiere of the episode. They're going to wait for the second or third episode to do something like that. But I honestly don't think they're going to be giving us like these heavy hitters to defeat Superman. I really think the thing that they're going to hit him with is what they hit him with in this episode, which was all about family, right? Because that's how you tell a Superman story. You ground him in stuff his powers have nothing to do with, right? He can't use his powers and make his kid's life better. He can't use his powers and make his wife's life better. I mean, he might be able to use his powers to make his life better, but that's not Superman, right? He doesn't do that. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that in the future. One of the things I thought was really cool with this one is the kids find the ship really quick, you know, because I was kind of screaming at the TV at the time. I was like, just tell the kids already. And so they did. You know, they didn't waste a lot of time in this. They told us right there in the premiere. So now the kids know. We're supposed to believe that those kids are 14. I mean, 17 at the earliest, right? But anyway, they're playing 14 in this show, and they kind of are giving it to you, you know, the obvious choice. You know, I mentioned that earlier. So the obvious choice was, oh, it's going to be Jonathan, right? Well, no, it wasn't Jonathan. It was the other one. Yeah, and I call him the other one because I can't even remember his name. What is his name? Hold on. Superman and Lois kids. It was Jonathan and Jordan. Okay. So Jordan is the one who ends up having the powers, of course. What I thought was actually kind of neat is that Jonathan was okay with it because, and like he even says, it makes, hey, check this out. Michael Gates, what's up? Oh, you know what? Let me go back and answer that question real quick. Rob P., my first question, did they show the iconic Lois and Soup flying? No, they did not show that. I think they wanted to kind of leave that for Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder. So, boom, you know, that's kind of where it is, right? They did show a little bit of where he has her in his arms and they kind of go up in the air, but not the classic fly. So, back to Jonathan and Jordan, right? So, Jonathan mentions, you know, hey, I'm actually kind of glad I don't have powers because that lets me know that all of my skills in football, they're all mine, right? And so I thought that was a really cool way where he was actually able to be okay with his brother having the powers. Something else I thought was kind of neat is, so Clark Kent is kind of the nerdy one, you know, and Clark Kent needs Superman, and Superman needs Clark Kent, right? He treats them as two separate people. So Superman is there, right? That it's Superman. And then you have Clark Kent, you know, the bumbling reporter, even though they don't really portray him as that bumbling guy anymore, but he's still kind of that innocent farm boy-esque, right? So what I thought was really cool is what they did is Superman is the cool one and he has the powers. Clark Kent is the more introverted kind of goofy one and he doesn't have powers. Now we get to his sons and the cool one doesn't have powers and the introverted kind of nerdy one, he does have powers. So they kind of switched that on its head to kind of. I think what they're going to do is the two sons. We're going to see two halves make that whole. So they're going to be able to tell those stories. Like, hey, how would we treat Superman in this situation? Oh, well, we'll give Jonathan that storyline. How would we treat Clark Kent in this situation? Oh, we'll give Jordan that storyline. So I think that they're gonna be able to tell a lot of stories from that point of view, and I love that it's not gonna be. It's gonna be so the show is called Superman and Lois, right? So right there, it's them two together, right? This isn't the Superman show. This isn't the Lois show. It's Superman and Lois, right? So hey, it's a family. That right there is going to make for a lot of good storytelling, I think, because if you're a parent, you know it's complicated, right? And it's tough. If there was a manual, everybody would know how to do it, right? But not everybody knows how to do it. So there you go, right? I really am looking forward to how they end up telling this story. I'm excited for it to take its place. One thing that I am wondering about is, so we got our first introduction to Superman, this iteration of Superman, in Supergirl, right? And especially with the crisis that they do. So if you're unfamiliar with that, for the last couple of years, they've done this crisis to connect all of the CW shows. It kind of culminated in Oliver from Arrow, building this one universe, and so now they all have joined into one universe. So now they're all there, right? But at the time during this, Lois was pregnant. So I don't think that they're going to be doing a lot of crossovers unless there was some kind of shaking out with the merging of realities. Unless there was some kind of shaking out to where they came in now, because what I'm getting at is the boys are 14 years old. Lois was pregnant, during that whole crisis stuff. So, or maybe she had just given birth. My point is, there's been at least a decade that has passed. So I don't think a lot of the shows are gonna like cross over into this one, and maybe they don't want it to, right? Because you've got so much to tell with Superman. You don't really want things to overshadow, right? So I can totally see them not doing that, right? So yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Because I just don't see it, right? Because I think that they're trying to get back to be able to make the shows stand on their own and not have these MacGuffins of like, oh, Flash is here to save the day. Oh, Black Lightning was able to save us with electricity. Things like that. I think that they want to save that kind of stuff if they happen to do another crisis, right? If they do another crisis, then they can bring them all together for kind of a one shot. That reminds me, I wonder if they're going to do Legends of Tomorrow. I wonder if Legends of Tomorrow is coming back, because they... Legends of Tomorrow. Let's see if they got any. Let's see. Is it canceled? Yeah, it might be. It might be. I don't know. I know they're pushing Batwoman right now. They just got that new actress to come in and replace Ruby Rose. I haven't watched that one, regrettably, but I wanted to give her a chance, right? So maybe I'll go back and watch. I need to catch up on Stargirl is what I really need to catch up on. So getting back to Superman and Lois, right? One of the things I thought was really, really cool is iconic scene when Superman, if we go back to, I think it was Superman 3. Was it Superman 3? Maybe it was Superman 4. Anyway, when the nuclear plant is melting down, and he goes and freezes the top layer of the lake, and then picks that up and brings it over to the power plant and drops it, and it just kind of boom and rains on it, right? Well, they have a scene like that, but man, it is so updated for 2021. It was pretty freaking cool. All right, So, boom, there's a meltdown happening. We find out that this is not the first one. General Lane, I guess, knows who Superman is, and so he hits the button to call him because it's serious. They're about to have this thing, and this gas cloud can make it to Metropolis. So Superman comes in. How bad is it? Yada yada yada. Goes to this lake, and as he's flying down, uses his freezing breath, hits the lake, and then boom into the lake. And as he's coming out, he picks up this giant iceberg. All right, it looks a lot like when Brandon Routh was lifting that giant piece of land up in Superman Returns, except it's Tyler Hoechlin, I think his name is. Tyler Hoechlin picking up the iceberg and flying it. And man, they do it so freaking sweet. All right, so like I said, epic iceberg coming up out of the lake, flies in. Does he just drop it and let it break apart and melt and go in, and they do this CGI to do it? No, 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 no. He flies down into the reactor, slowly, because Superman can take this radiation, flies down into the reactor, and this ice starts melting as he's coming down, and that's how he puts it out. It was a cool scene, man. It was a cool scene. Man, it was cool. I mean, there was so much about this that was cool. This wasn't cool. His mom died in this episode. So that wasn't cool. But one of the things they showcase is just they brought the feels on this, right? Little choke up. You feel for him here because, again, that's how you tell a Superman story. You hit him where his powers can't affect him, right? Superman does have the full power set, man. They even mention it in the show, right? They mention super smell, right? And Superman turns to Lois and he goes, actually, I do have super smell. It's just we live with two teenage boys, so I don't really use it that often. Oh man, it was fantastic. Now we got to bring the mood back down, a little somber. So, his mom passes away, but he gets a phone call from her phone. He's talking to her. He's like, "Hey, Mom, I'm sorry. This morning was," but it's the doctor, right? And he's like, "Oh my God, doctor." And bam, he just takes off like a bullet. Boom. And all of a sudden it shows him flying into Smallville, lands at the barn, boom, is running into the house. And the doctor's like, "Clark, how did you?" And then, but that's a moot point, right? Because he's got to go in. And so obviously the second parent that he's lost, in the comic books, his parents, lived to be older, right? But I think that they had his dad passing away in the show just because that's what a lot of people were used to, right? If you go back to 1978 with the first Superman movie coming out, people were used to that. They were used to his dad having that heart attack. And so that's kind of where they went. If you remember Man of Steel, he dies in that tornado, right? So I really think that's kind of where they wanted to go. What I really loved about this is we didn't have to sit through another origin story, right? They kind of filled in some gaps where he's like, "My parents sent me here because my planet exploded." He's explaining it to his kids real quick, and because at this point in time, the only people that don't know Superman's origin are people that probably just haven't ever been exposed to him, and those kind of people probably aren't watching this show to begin with, right? Superman is pretty iconic, so a lot of people know his origin, and the beats, right? Oh, his planet exploded and he got sent to Earth, right? Bam, that's pretty much it. Right? We don't need to know all the little nuance to it, right? Like, oh, Jor-El had a seat at the council and he warned the people that the planet was going to explode and they ignored his warnings. And so in secret, he was building this spaceship. And the reason it was small to only fit a baby is because he was defying the council by building the ship. And so he had to keep it small because he was pulling materials from other places, from his lab in order to make this. So we didn't need to know all those little nuance, right? Everybody just knows. Boom, planet exploded. Boom, got sent to Earth. Oh, it's Earth's yellow sun does something to him. Right? Bam. That's really all you need to know. Superman's kind of that. When you think of superhero, that's kind of that's the imagery you get, right? You get Superman. I mean, he's the first. I mean, right? I mean, that's what everybody else is just playing catch up. It's like, oh, oh my God, it's Superman. I mean, they joke with Hyperion and Marvel. We're not even going to go into that. We're not even going to go into that. So Superman is like the de facto. If you're not aware, he was created by Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel. Way back 1937, I think, is when they started trying to get him around, and I think he had his first comic in 1938. Action Comics #1. That's actually the most expensive comic to have ever been auctioned. I think it was 2.2 million. I think was the I think 2.2 million was what it went. I mean, heck, it may be higher than that now. Let's see, Action Comics #1 worth. Let's see, 3.2 million. Yeah, man, most valuable comic book of all time. And they use this grading scheme to do it, and I think there's like just a handful of 9.8 copies out of 10, maybe, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Anyway. So Superman is he's like, I mean, he's just huge, right? I grew up idolizing him. I love the movies. A lot of people remember the Christopher Reeve movies. Little fun fact on that, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, the reason it's kind of garbage compared to the others is because the studio that did it was also doing Masters of the Universe at the same time with Dolph Lundgren. And so they were siphoning money away from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and putting it into Masters of the Universe. So there's a lot of shots that were reused from previous movies, especially Superman 3, a lot of flight shots that have kind of the same deal. But yeah, and for Masters of the Universe, I mean, the director, he had to use his own money to make the ending because they still doing all that and they still ran out of money. So yeah, so that's kind of why you have the abbreviated ending in Masters of the Universe, and it's kind of like it's like, oh, they're hitting the swords together and it's psh, psh, all these lights. And it was because they were just doing it on a dark studio and they didn't have money to do a lot, so that's what they did. And Frank Langella played Skeletor in that, and the only reason he played that is because his grandkids loved He-Man. So he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And I think he did it fantastic. So we're talking about Superman and Lois here. You get me off track, all right? Okay. So Lois, played by Elizabeth Tulloch. I was just talking to my wife today, and we both agreed that she's very Margot Kidder ish, right? Go back and look at some of the old pictures of Margot Kidder and then look at Elizabeth Tulloch. I mean, we're talking matching cheekbones. She's got the same hair. She's got that kind of thin nose. And man, I had a crush on Margot Kidder back in the day. Man, I had a crush on Karen Allen too. Indiana Jones, baby. That's it. First movie I saw in the theater. Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade. So there it is. Thus my fascination with Indy. But, of course, Superman too. Superman as well. But, so Margot Kidder, boom, Elizabeth Tulloch. I think a lot of, so we've had a few different Loises in Lifetime, right? So we have Margot Kidder, we had Terry Hatcher, fantastic Lois Lane. We had Erica Durance, from Smallville. We had Kate Bosworth in the Superman Returns movie. And then we had Amy Adams in the Man of Steel movie and Batman vs. Superman, Justice League. So I just had to be honest. I didn't care for Kate Bosworth. She didn't seem like the kind of Lois that could affect Superman. Rob P., what age demographic is this show for? So I would think that it's probably tweens on up to adults, and even older people, because older people are going to be able to watch this show and say, oh, I remember raising kids. Parents are going to be able to watch this show and say, oh, I remember, or not I remember, or yeah, I remember being a kid and now I'm raising kids. And then, tweens to teens are going to be able to watch this show and really identify with the two teenage boys and the stuff that they're going through. One of the boys, Jordan, is diagnosed with it's a social disorder, and he actually takes medication for it. And so I really think that you're going to see a lot of people kind of identify with that, like, hey, maybe not necessarily I have the exact same thing, but hey, they're telling a story similar to mine, because that's kind of what we're looking for, right? We're looking for inclusivity, and that's why I think shows like this are important and dealing with these types of issues. I know that some people might look at it and say, "Oh, great, we got this," but I really think it's important because it helps tell that story. It helps get it out there, so that these kinds of things aren't. It's no longer taboo, right? Because things like that are kind of not talked about, or not, because people don't talk about it, right? It's a self-licking ice cream cone. Hey, don't talk about that. Well, why can't we talk about it? Well, because no one talks about it. Well, if somebody starts talking about it, then everybody will talk about it, right? So I think that's cool, and I think that if Superman only had one child, like he does in the comic books, but if he only has one child, then the story, I think, is a little too similar to him, right? All you really did was just age down Superman so that you could just tell the story for a new audience, but the same audience, essentially. But with this one, him having two kids, well, now you have that dichotomy. You have the popular kid and the not so popular kid. And so now you can tell stories for both. Because there might be some people watching the show that I mean, like, look at me, right? I'm super popular. I am oozing charisma, right? So I don't identify with the introverts of the world, right? I am hugely extroverted. I have to be, man. My personality is coming out so much. I have to wear the hat to keep it in. But so I identify a lot with Jonathan, right? But there might be people out there that say, well, no, it's hard for me to talk to people. Or maybe they're introverts that can talk to people, but it wears them out, right? And then you have those people that are seriously socially anxious that can't. It's like it freaks them out to even try and talk. But guess what? Shows like this, when we get out there and we start talking to people about these shows, well, guess what? That you're conversing now. You're in it, man. You're in that conversation. You're building friendships. So that's what shows like this can do. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to this show kind of kicking off and being that thing that really connects people, because to me, that's what comic books help do, right? They bring all these people from all these walks of life and just put them together, and that's what connects us, man. Superman can connect people because there are people that make millions of dollars a year that love Superman. There's people out there that make minimum wage that love Superman, and that's the string that binds them, man. You've got people from across the world that love Superman, don't even speak the same language, and both love Superman. And that's what can help connect us. So Superman he can transcend a lot of that stuff. He can connect us. And sometimes you just need that one little connection to really understand somebody, or to even want to understand somebody, right? Because that sometimes that's a problem in the world. You look at Superman. Does Superman look like the type of person that would ever not help somebody, right? And so that's where a lot of people can get in. You can really, if you draw on Superman, I mean, there was a storyline in the comic books, the Final Night storyline. It's where the sun went out and Superman was slowly losing his powers. And one of the coolest things of that is he lost his powers. It gives me a lot of goosebumps to even talk about this story. It's one of my favorite storylines of his. But he lost his powers because Superman essentially absorbs the yellow sunlight, right? That radiation, and that's kind of what gives him his powers. So when the sun was out, he's kind of like a solar battery, and so he's running out. Every time he uses his powers, they're going down. But he still wants to help people. And so he witnesses somebody getting mugged. And, it's looting. There's a lot of stuff going on at this point. But Superman gets out there and he stands in front of him, knowing he doesn't have any powers. And they pull a gun on him. Well, of course he's nervous because he's not bulletproof anymore. But he uses that kind of, that psychology, and is like, you really think that bullet's going to work against me? And so that gets him to kind of put the gun down. But my point in this is, even without powers, he would do that, right? He's not Superman because he has powers. So that's always the thing that I have to kind of jump in there and defend him on. Whenever people are talking about it, he would be Superman even if he didn't have the powers. He has this need to want to help people. And I mean, that's admirable, man. It's admirable. And then, of course, the thing I love about Lois is she's so independent and she's just such a go-getter. And she is with Superman and Clark, obviously, because she wants to be, right? And Superman's with her because he wants to be. There's no, like, I need you, right? There's never been anything like that. And that's what I love. Like, she doesn't need to be with him. She wants to be with him. He doesn't need to be with her. He wants to be with her. She's always being saved by him, right? But it's because there's that trust, not because she's a damsel in distress. She even talks about it, right? In the comic books, and I'm sure they're going to end up mentioning it in this series here. But she even mentions and talks about, I don't need you to save me. They're like, there's other people in this world. You don't have to. And he's always coming back. He's like, I know I don't need to, but I want to, right? And so, it's a love story for the ages, right? It's been happening for 80 years, man. 80 years. That's how long Superman's been around. But going back to this, there was a really cool line that I thought kind of sums up what this series is going to give us. And what I believe that this series is going to give us is when Lois is talking to her dad and she said, the world will always need Superman, but right now his family needs him more. And right there, I think, is going to be a lot of what this becomes about, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Superman raising a family. Obviously, okay. Let's address the elephant in the room. It's called Superman and Lois because they couldn't call it Clark and Lois, right? Because they already have Lois and Clark. The show that came on back in '93, I think, ran from '93 to '97. Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher. So they couldn't call it Lois and Clark. They couldn't call it Clark and Lois, right? I mean, I guess they could have, but you'd have just been confused. So they called it Superman and Lois. But I really think they're going to be dealing a lot more with Clark. And not so much Clark, but him. Superman's going to be kind of his profession, right? And so you have to balance, everybody has to make this decision, right? How to balance your professional life with your personal life. And when you become a parent, that becomes even harder to do because you want to be there with the kids, but you also you have to go to work. And so you know what, I want to mention that too. In the show, they're moving back to Smallville. Superman and Lois, they talk about it and they believe that this will actually be better for the boys, especially with this giant secret. I'm Superman. You learned this at 14 years old. So they decide to move to Metropolis. It's actually taken really well by the boys, but I think it's one of those cases of give them the really, really bad news and then hit them with some softer stuff. So the really, really big bad news is I'm Kryptonian and you're half Kryptonian, half human. By the way, we're going to move to Metropolis. And so it's like, whoa, Metropolis isn't even the biggest thing that you dropped on me right here. It's going to be them adjusting to small life. So I think that we're going to have some fun episodes too. It's not going to be all just heavy stuff. We're going to have some fun episodes of them trying to get used to farm life. Because they lived in Metropolis their whole lives, right? I mean, and they're coming in 14, so they're old enough to have kind of some habits have formed, and so I think that there's going to be a lot of fun stories of, oh, we're on a farm, oh, we got to do this, oh, if you remember the old Smallville show with Tom Welling, oh, my powers are on the fritz, and I have some weird stuff happening. Oh, I've hit puberty already, and my powers are manifesting. So we'll get some stories like that. But this time, Jordan will actually have somebody to help him, where Superman didn't. He had to kind of, learn from Jonathan, his dad, and that's why Jonathan has his name, because he's named after Clark's father. So I think that. Oh, you know what? In this episode, we got introduced to Lana Lang, played by Kristen Crook in Smallville. But let's see. Rob P says, "Poor Dean Cain. I heard someone yelled, 'Hey, Soup,' and blasted him with an air rifle in the chest at a convention. Guy thought he was really Superman, apparently." Guy didn't think he was really Superman. He's trying to be funny. And you can really hurt somebody doing that, and that's terrible. I hate when stuff like that happens. Dean Cain, obviously played Clark and Superman and Lois and Clark, 93 to 97. I think maybe it was 93 to 98. But I know a lot of people kind of get on his case because. He's got a lot of views that some people might not think shares with Superman, right? But we have to separate the actor from the character, right? But I hate that happened, because these people don't have to go to conventions, and they do. They make time, and I know we're gonna say, oh, but they make money from it, so. You can make money going out doing anything, but we don't. We choose what we want to do, and so yeah. But that stinks, man. If that really happened, that stinks. I feel bad for him. So going back into the episode. So there was this really weird part. You'll know it if you watch the episode. You're gonna know it as soon as I mention it, right? So the actor that plays Jonathan, the blonde-headed one, you probably know where I'm going. When Superman reveals to them that he's Superman, okay, go back and watch this. Go back and watch this part when. When he reveals to him that he's Superman, and he takes off his glasses, then he goes and he picks up the truck, and he actually picks it up over his head, and then flies into the air. They have reaction shots of both the boys, and the kid who plays Jonathan is doing this weird. He's doing like this. He's looking up into the air and he's just going. And the only thing I could think of is the director's like, "You're in shock. You're in shock. Give me more. Give me more." And he's just like, going. He's like, "More. Dial it up. Dial it up." And and then the director's like, "Nailed it." Oh man, I feel so bad talking about it because. Dude's probably trying his best, man. He's probably trying his best. And he's probably getting that direction from the director, man. And the director's probably like, man, we're going to nail this scene, man. It's so much emotion. Oh, gosh. It happens like 30 or 40 minutes into the episode, maybe. Oh, gosh. But we had, so it was an hour and a half premiere. Like I said, we found out that Lex is the one in the suit. We also find out at the end that Lex Luthor is black. And so I am really excited to read people's reactions because, I mean, who cares, right? I mean, who cares? But I wonder if they're gonna, if they're just gonna say nope, he's black, or if they're gonna somehow do the whole like, oh well, when the universes merged, I mean, it was very obvious that one of the Lexes was black, and so boom, here you go. But I'm also wondering, are they going to bring Lena Luthor in? Because Lena Luthor is hugely popular in Supergirl. So I wonder what they're going to do with that. I don't think that Lex is really going to make another appearance until maybe like the third episode. It seems like kind of the big bad guy that they want to bring in that's going to be like the kind of Lex Luthor that we know is Morgan Edge. I think that's when, because he's the guy buying up all the land. He's owning banks. He's doing the typical Lex Luthor stuff, but it's Morgan Edge. If you remember the old Smallville series, Morgan Edge was kind of more of a mob boss type, but in Supergirl, he's actually a businessman. And I think it's a lot because Supergirl didn't want to use Lex Luthor, so they brought in Morgan Edge. And they're very similar characters, if we're being completely honest. It's just, everybody understands, oh, Superman is Lex Luthor, right? But there's only so many things you can do because people just understand him to be that way. So why not tell it with a different spin, right? Because you can have Lex Luthor be the maniacal person that he became. Lex in the 2000s, getting old, it's all blurring together. Superman cartoon, black. No, he was white. He was actually voiced by Clancy Brown. If you're talking about Superman the animated series, the one where Tim Daly, the actor from Wings, voiced Superman, and then later he left and his son John Daly took over. So yeah, Lex was a white guy, but he had a tan, right? So I guess maybe he could go either way. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I always thought he was white. But maybe that's because I'm white, right? And so that's how I linked it. Maybe other people that are black looked at him and was like, no, he's very obviously black. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like when they recast Kingpin in the old Daredevil movie, because that absolutely was not the worst thing about that movie. And they had Michael Clark Duncan become him. I mean, why not, right? I mean, Kingpin was a crime boss, right? Why? Yeah, I don't understand. Like Dorico Dan. Yeah, I don't understand people's hang-ups with characters that can just be interchanged, right? It'd be different if you took. Well, I mean, heck, you could even just one day they start writing comics and say, nope, this Superman's black. I mean, you're gonna pee a lot of people off, but I mean, nothing says you can't do it, right? They own the character; they can do whatever they want. But I don't really think it's that big of a deal. It's kind of like when they switched Batwoman, right? So Ruby Rose left and they switched her and made her a black girl, or a black woman, I'm sorry. And, I mean, who cares? I mean, the show's still garbage, but... I mean, but for real it is. It's not good. But... I think Lex in the 90s was meant to be racially ambiguous. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he could be, right? I think Clancy Brown nailed it with that voice, though. Man, he nailed it with that voice. In fact, if we go back to Justice League, the cartoon, Justice League Unlimited, there is a fantastic scene where Lex switches bodies with the Flash. I don't know, do you remember this? Do you remember this particular episode? So he switches bodies with the Flash, and so Flash is put into Lex Luthor's body, and Lex Luthor is now put into Flash's body. And he goes and stands in front of a mirror, and he says, now, time to unmask who the Flash really is. And he takes the cowl off, and he's looking in a mirror. And it's Clancy Brown's voice, And he raises it up, he looks in the mirror, and he says, I have no idea who this is. And it was just such a real moment for, why would Lex Luthor know who who a lab guy in the Central City Police Department, just some rando in another city, why would he know who he is? Right? And so I thought that was pretty awesome for them to reference that, right? Because you're walking in different worlds. So I that's one of my favorite episodes with Lex Luthor back then. It was just such an honest moment, right? Kind of like the old Gene Hackman when he finally gets found out, and I think it was Superman 2 when Superman gets into the chamber, and he went through the process of losing his powers to be with Lois. And then, of course, Zod and the other two come in, and he ends up going back, giving all of it up, and becoming Superman again, and then tricks them, him getting into the chamber to lose his powers, but instead the others lose theirs. Right. It was Wally. It wasn't Barry. But still, Barry, yeah, you're right. But, it's... yeah, I don't remember what his day job was. Because we know Barry was the lab tech in there, but what did Wally do? I mean, I guess he didn't have to do anything. But what did he do? I don't know. I'll have to actually go back and read that. That's interesting. I never get. You know what? I've got the internet at my fingertips. Wally West profession. Boom. Wally says he is most notably employed as a mechanic for the Keystone City Police Department. But if you Google it, it pops up unemployed mechanic. So there you go. There you go. So yeah, we have found out that Wally West's job was to not have a job. Oh man, but I loved his sense of humor. I loved his sense of humor in that. Unemployed mechanic. I love it. So Tyler Hoechlin, I think, is doing a fantastic job with Superman. Elizabeth Tulloch, I think, is doing wonderfully as Lois Lane. We'll see on Jonathan and Jordan, because we've had a few episodes already to kind of see where to kind of say, I'm sorry, I'm still on this Wally West unemployed mechanic thing, man. Because I know the only person I think that doesn't really make fun of him a lot is Martian Manhunter, right? And the only reason Martian Manhunter isn't doing it a lot is because he just doesn't really get Earth humor, right? I know he tells a couple of jokes, that's kind of his arc, right? Oh man, I totally wish that was the main suit. Man, that the black background, man. Was it the black background with the red S, or was it the black S with the red background? Anyway, man, that was awesome to have it. I wonder why they chose not to carry that as the main suit, right? I feel like they just teased us with it. Man, God, that was nice. Felt like the old 1938 suit, right? In fact, like the old Max Fleischer cartoons, right? Those are some of the best Superman cartoons I've ever seen, still to this day. Did you know those things are in the public domain, which means anybody can package them and sell them? I didn't know that, but you backlash as in him not not referencing it, or backlash as in just like, oh, if we don't put him in the new suit, then people are gonna backlash. because I love that old suit. It reminded me of Brandon Routh wore it in the Crisis episodes. You know, and I mean, God, everybody loves it. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody loves it. Um, God, I would love it. I would love that suit. That's a favorite suit of mine. Um, it just takes me back, and I really think that he did a good job wearing it too. You know, he filled it out really well. I don't know. I know some people kind of like, oh, Tyler, he's a little. Uh, oh, the underwear. Yeah, but he is. You know, no way. BVS is not the best suit, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cavill is probably my favorite Superman, but you know his suit is not the greatest thing of that. Um, I definitely prefer the old underwear on the outside suit. Um, it's just iconic, right? But I think so with Tyler being so small, um, I think that makes sense, right? Because it helps him blend in. And Superman isn't super powerful because he's a big guy, right? He's powerful because of what the Earth's yellow sun does to him, right? So it doesn't matter. You know, that's why he was super powerful when he was a kid. He's not like She Hulk, right? She Hulk is proportionately as strong as Jennifer Walters is, right? So as Jennifer Walters gets stronger, then She Hulk is stronger. Unlike Hulk, who gets stronger with rage, right? But Superman is just he's as strong really as the plot needs him to be. But I don't think he's ever really been tested. Uh, there's an old quote by God, I can't remember his name, but he's this motivational speaker, but he also um, he's like known for like walking and running really really far distances. Uh, but he says when you feel like you can't move anymore, when you can't do it, when your body is saying I just can't make it anymore, you're only 40% done. And so I think that. So here's the problem with Superman working out and getting stronger. What happens when he gets to that limit, right? So like, what's he bench pressing? Because is he bench pressing a tractor? Well, now we have to get into the structural integrity of this tractor, right? Is he curling it? Because now an axle might break off because he's sitting there curling it because the weight distribution is off, right? So I think that's what we run into with suits. There's that thing in the comics of the way that he used to get into the Fortress of Solitude is he buried this key under the ice, and then he could pull this key up, and the key was made of some metal that was just so heavy only he could lift it, and then he flew up with the key, put it in, and he could unlock the door. And then later they brought into the whole thing, oh well, because of his heat vision he can actually burn into the ice and get under and then come into the Fortress of Solitude that way. So I think that there's a couple of different ways that they get in it. Yeah, see, so it's like, a lot of it is on who the writers, right? So Fedora Society, in the comics, All Star Superman cartoon, he benches the weight of 100 stars, right? Because it's ridiculous to think about that, right? But he's as strong as the writers need him to be, and that's why, hey, nice seg. I appreciate that segue. That's why this show, I think, will do. Smallville, I think, was good because of that, right? Lois and Clark was good kind of because of that. And this one, I think, will be good because of that. Because we're not dealing with a lot of Superman problems, right? We're dealing with a lot of Clark problems. He just happens to have the powers of Superman. And those are where I feel like some of the movies could learn from. Now, it's easy to say that, after the fact, right? Because the Superman is easy to do in a series, in an episodic way, because you can tell those stories. In a movie, it's a tight, compact story, right? So we can't really get into all of these Clark problems. They did it well in Batman versus Superman, with him coming back after saving Lois, and just saying, well, what was I supposed to do? Right? So that's when you really get into, we finally get to see him as Clark talk about the problems, the decision making of Superman. There was a comic that I read a long time ago that dealt with him, somebody saying, well, how do you do it? How do you make the decision? Because it just seems like you're leaving that person. He says, every time I make a decision to save somebody, somebody else is not getting saved. I can still hear them, right? And so that's Superman. That's the decision he's making. But he says, I can't regret it, because if I regret, if I hesitate at all, if I say, oh, maybe I should say that person, oh, I run the risk of not being able to save either. And so I have to make that decision, and I have to just go. Somebody's going to get saved, somebody's not. And that's just the way it is. And it's nice sometimes to see that being played out. Man, there was a comic that dealt with that, where he just kind of walked the earth, right? And it was really him being grounded and him saying, like, these decisions are hard for me to make. People expect me just to make them and not live with them. It's kind of like a first responder making, saving a bunch of people, but they're always going to remember the people they couldn't save. And here's Superman hearing and seeing people he can't save because he's chosen to go and save other people. And that just weighs on him, man. But he keeps doing it because he knows if he doesn't, people aren't going to get saved. And it's just, I know it's a fictional character, but I mean, it's heavy, man. It's heavy to think about that, and so props go out to Supes for making that decision. And I know it's not him making a decision, it's the writers making a decision for him. But still, they're arguing a little bit of morality, right? They're bringing some of that in there, and Supes has always dealt with, well, what should I do? Should I help them? How much do I help them? Because if I help them too much, then they won't ever learn how to help themselves, and you can really see that he's probably going to struggle with that with his kids. How much do I help them? Jordan's going to have to learn, now that he has powers, how much do I help? How much do I do? Because if I do too much, then it might turn people off. People might be scared of me, and so we're really going to get to see this story again. But again, we're going to get to see it from that standpoint of him having Superman and Clark to help guide him. Something that Clark never had growing up. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see this, how it goes. I'm excited to tune in. It comes on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, I think. And so we're going to be doing these episodes on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just to kind of, hash out some of this stuff, right? The Flash starts next week also, and so we're going to talk about the Flash also whenever that comes back, and so it's nice that we got to talk about the Flash in here, and now we know Wally is an unemployed mechanic. But the next live will probably happen Saturday night, and we will talk about WandaVision. Because there's I think there's 2 episodes left, maybe 3. I think there's 2 episodes left. But obviously, I'm not going to mention any spoilers about WandaVision on this. I'll wait for Saturday night's episode on that. But yeah, man, I absolutely loved this episode. So, man, it was cool. Yeah, so that's all I got. I appreciate you hanging out. We can just kind of go into some Q&A if you want. We can go in. Oh my God, the music was amazing, right? God, we talked about it. Langston, you and I talked about it a little bit last night. This is how you do a premiere, man. It felt cinematic. God, it was so well shot that I felt like I was watching a movie, right? And this is just an episode, I mean, it's the premiere, but it's not uncommon, or it's not unreasonable to think that the rest of the episodes are going to have very similar budget, right? Because I don't see it falling off. Yeah, Man of Steel does feel like it. I think it's also the direction that they're going, right? Zack Snyder has firmly said, this is like a brooding world, right? I don't think he's firmly said it, but he said it in his movies, right? His movies are set that way. It's just this kind of this real dark, brooding thing. But Superman's about hope, right? And so they finally got that right at the end of Justice League, right? So I'm excited to see Zack Snyder's Justice League. Just if for anything to feel that hope again, because when Cavill comes back and he tells Steppenwolf, I'm a fan of justice. Oh man, it's like my Superman came back. It's like I felt like Cavill to me embodies him physically, but when he said that and he left to go save those people, like he beats up on Steppenwolf for a little bit and then he goes to save those people, like that's Superman, right? It's like, dude, you're the strongest one here. Of course you're going to beat down this dude. The dude, everyone else having problems, you just, kicked his butt, man. But then people, I got to save him. You guys keep dealing with this guy while I go do that. And, yeah, I think you nailed it, Fedora. It seemed like an outstretched hand. Yeah, it was just begging me to come in. Man. Yeah. God, I believe in truth. Big fan of justice. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I felt like this show was inviting me to come along. It was inviting me into their life, and I was right there with them. I know it's silly. So whenever I watch something, I get engrossed. I get invested, especially for characters that I enjoy. And so I got invested in this, and this first episode really brought the feels. Not just with his mom passing away, right? I mean, it just everything. Him losing his job, him struggling whether or not to tell his sons about him, because he doesn't know. He doesn't know, is this the right thing to do? Is it not the right thing to do? And so we get to see, we get to be that fly on the wall while Superman struggles. And God. Yeah, right? That line was perfection, man. It was just, that line just did it. It just did it. Also the scene where he's holding Aquaman and Cyborg and he's holding the lasso and the Flash takes off and he stares and looks at him. Perfect scene, man. Perfect scene. God. Man, that was good. That was good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to taking this journey with them. I don't know how many episodes the first season's going to have, but I'm with them. I'm with them until they do something just completely crazy, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I feel like this first episode really grounded it and is laying that groundwork for what to expect. And we are expecting grounded stories from a god, right? But he's got the problems of a man. And so he's going to have to figure those out because those powers aren't going to help him with these problems. And that's kind of a theme going around for some of the best Superman stories ever told, feature those types of stories. One of the greatest stories ever told is For the Man Who Has Everything. And 15 episodes, man, that's perfect. Man, it's perfect. It's gonna take us into the summer, man. And then Stargirl starts up in the summer. That's perfect. They just hand it right off, man. All right. But for the Man Who Has Everything is he gets the heart's desire, right, and goes into this fictional world where his planet never exploded, and he grows up and he has kids, with a woman, and in order to get that heart's desire plant off of you, you have to reject this, but it feeds off of your desires and it gives you everything you want. and he has to understand that this world isn't real, and he has to give that up. And so he didn't use his powers for that, right? 15 to 17 episodes. Nice. Man. I could see it having 15, right? I could definitely see it having 15. I wonder if they're going to end up ordering more for the second season. I guess we'll have to kind of play it out and see what their budget's like. 25 episodes this season? Nice. Man. Yeah, and we had the break, right? So this is kind of that the second part is about to begin, right? Because we left off with Iris still trapped in the mirror universe, and Mirror Master is I can't remember her name, but so she's basically Mirror Master, and Iris still stuck, and so he's gonna have to figure out how to get her out. The one of the big things about the Flash is I wish it was kind of that lighthearted, fun show that it was back in the first couple of seasons. I can understand that they have to kind of grow, but it just seemed like it was the fun one while Arrow was the dark and brooding one. And now I feel like Flash is kind of the dark and brooding one, and Legends of Tomorrow is that fun one. Oh, okay. Maybe over season 2. Yeah. I could see that. I could definitely see them pushing those off because it gives them time, right? It gives them time to kind of think about where they want to go because, hey, we've already got 2 episodes in the bag, right? So we can just kind of show those and get it going. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. And, man, great thinking on the writer's part and, the executive producers, right, to be able to say, you know what, we could push these episodes over and then, kind of draw onto that. I think it's going to be very well received. I don't think that there's really been a Superman series that has come out that wasn't well received. It's easy to kind of discount movies because you have to appeal to so many people, right? But with a series, you don't, because they're not going to like blow their budget on a channel that they can't, right? So like they're on a CW where like 1.5 to 2 million viewers is going to be excellent to sustain you. So I think that knowing that they're not going to overspend. Also with starting it on the CW where it's with Warner Brothers, they already own those rights and those characters, so they don't have to pay any kind of licensing fees. So the money that they would normally spend on that kind of stuff, they can really kind of put in. That was the good thing about moving Supergirl from CBS over to CW is I think they saved $1.5 million per episode just on licensing fees, because that's how much CBS was paying Warner Brothers to license to show it. And so, when it came over to CW, they didn't have to pay it anymore. I think they still weirdly do pay a little licensing fee because it's weird, man. The way money works, it's just weird. I know this will never happen, but if Superman and Lois moved to HBO Max and crossed over with Matt Reeves' Batman, let's see. Tyler Hoechlin with Edward. I say Edward because I can't even remember that dude's name. What is his name? Robert. God, what is it? I only know Edward Cullen, and I didn't even like Twilight. God, who? Robert Pattinson. So Tyler Hoechlin with Robert Pattinson. I could see it. They're both similar builds, so they wouldn't upstand, because Ben Affleck had to get swole in order to match up with Cavill. So with this, you can kind of bring in 2 smaller actors. Right. Yeah, Robert Pattinson. So yeah, I'm a little torn on Matt Reeves' Batman, only because I'm not a huge Batman fan anyway. I still think Ben Affleck is the best Batman I've ever seen. Yeah, I said it. I'm throwing a gauntlet down. I think he was, man. I think Ben Affleck gets pooped on a lot, but man, I loved him. I loved him as Batman. But I'm gonna hold my judgment because I was also one of those people that was kind of like Heath Ledger for Joker, and then he turns in the performance of a freaking lifetime. Yeah, so I'm gonna hold my judgment. I like Robert Pattinson as an actor. I thought he was fantastic in Tenet. So if he can just bring anything like that over, man, I think he'll nail it. We already know he does brooding well from Twilight. So if he mixes a little bit of that and brings in some of the other stuff, because the Lighthouse, God, he's fantastic in that movie too. He's definitely a good enough actor to bring it in. So yeah, I think we could actually I think we might actually have a good Batman movie. You've talked me into it. You've talked me into it, man. I'm excited for Matt Reeves' Batman now. So, congratulations, sir. I tip. But yeah. So, my favorite live-action Batman is Christian Bale. But my favorite Batman is definitely animated. So, oh yeah, I mean Kevin Conroy, right? I mean, I was really excited to see him, like physically live action in that crossover. And to actually have him as like the bad Batman, that was really cool to see that. But yeah, he will forever be the voice of Batman. Yeah, I mean it's when you think about Batman and you hear him in your head, you hear that voice, right? There's no other voice you hear. I liked Christian Bale because I liked Christopher Nolan's Batman films, even though the third one. That whole Robin arc was kind of silly. I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a really cool choice for that. But you could have named him something. I mean, heck, you could have even named him, you could have even called him Dick Grayson, because, they moved to Dick Grayson joining the police, right? So you could have had him be Dick Grayson, but whatever. So, but I did like Christian Bale as Batman. My favorite live action Batman, again, Ben Affleck, and then my second, probably Michael Keaton. And biggest reason is because I was old enough to go to the theater and see Batman in 1989. Okay, and I remember so many people thinking, "What? You got Michael Keaton?" Because he was a comedic actor, right? And so we were like, "Well, we're about to see this guy," and now, of course, we know him to be. I mean, man can do anything, right? But yeah, every actor has that movie that they do that totally switches. Bruce Willis when he did Die Hard, right? Nobody expected it. I mean, in fact, they laughed when they saw the trailer of him in that movie. They laughed. So they actually removed his face off of the movie poster of Die Hard because they wanted people to go see it. They're like, just don't put Bruce Willis in it. But now it's like when you think about Bruce Willis, you think Die Hard. You don't think Moonlighting. But back then that's what they thought. So some people might think Hudson Hawk, which kind of blends the two, right? But yeah, that's probably why the Batman games were so good, because they brought the voice talent back. It's kind of I heard there was a documentary about voice acting, and they talked about Mark Hamill as the Joker. Like, that's who you think of when you think of the Joker. And they said people aren't trying to do the voice of the Joker. People are doing Mark doing the Joker. So, I mean, that's high praise. I mean, high praise. Top three. So your top three is 1, Kevin Conroy, 2, Christian Bale, 3, Val Kilmer. Dude, I actually liked Val Kilmer. I thought he kind of got a raw deal. There is a show called Life is Short. I think that's what it's called. Life's Short. But it has Warwick Davis in it. And it's a story. It's by Ricky Gervais, but it actually has Val Kilmer in one of the episodes, and they're kind of making fun of him for being in Batman, but yeah, it's fantastic to see him. I actually enjoyed him in Batman. I thought it was good. Yeah, man. Okay, you got me going. 15 more minutes. But that's awesome, man. I thank you for asking all. Oh, hold on. I thank you for participating. Again, we will be back here Saturday night, 8 p.m. We'll talk about WandaVision. And then this is going to be a recurring thing every Wednesday night for the foreseeable future, to talk about Superman and Lois and to talk about The Flash. So I really hope you join me. I'll throw up the reminder so you can set your reminder on there. If you liked it, go ahead and throw a thumbs up. I got to say that because it's YouTube, right? But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out. I love it. I really hope you enjoyed the show too, man, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. So again, thumbnail of this thing. Yeah, man, it's I'm bringing it back. So Superman and Lois, I loved it. Is it worth the hype? I think definitely, and I think it's only going to get better. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Well, so that's pretty much it. So see you later.